Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 6, 2015, the gentlewoman from Missouri, Mrs. Hartzler, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on the subject of my special order.
Without objection.
All right. 53 years ago is a long time. In 1962, John F. Kennedy was president. Gas was 28 cents a gallon. The first Walmart opened. The U.S. Navy SEALs were created. And the Cuban Missile Crisis was on everyone's minds. And we've gone through a lot as a nation since then, but one thing has remained constant. The U.S. Congress and the President of the United States have fulfilled one of its primary obligations, according to the Constitution, of providing for the common defense by passing the National Defense Authorization Act. You may say that Congress hasn't always passed legislation that's needed, but on the National Defense Authorization Act, we've gotten it right. For 53 years in a row now, our nation's national security needs have been taken care of. Sadly, that might not be the case this year. The reason? Not because the representatives of the people did not do their work. It's because the Commander-in-Chief has chosen to use the military as political pawns to advance his domestic agenda by choosing to veto the NDAA. Never before in our nation's history has a president vetoed the National Defense Authorization Act in order to leverage concessions on other areas of government spending. Let me say that again. President Obama's veto stems not from defense policy, but rather from his desire for more domestic spending unrelated to national defense. This is unprecedented. 4 times during the past 53 years, presidents have vetoed the NDAA, but it was over specific defense-related provisions in the NDAA itself. Differences were able to be worked out with Congress and concerns quickly addressed, so the bill could move forward and our men and women in uniform would have the tools, equipment, and resources they need to keep us safe. Not this year. Just minutes ago, our president vetoed our nation's most important bill, which provides for full funding for our military. Let me share with you what provisions are in this bill and why it's so important. It provides a 1.3% pay raise for our troops, retirement benefits for the 83% of our troops who currently see none, the authority for commanders to allow soldiers to carry guns on base to defend themselves, their colleagues in arms, and their families, vital resources and new tools to combat cyber attacks on our critical infrastructure, restrictions on Guantanamo detainee transfers to address the potential illegality of the President's previous unilateral transfers, 12 new F-18 Super Hornets to be built in my home state of Missouri, $300 million of assistance and lethal aid so the people of Ukraine can defend themselves, $330 million in funding for the Iron Dome missile defense system for Israel, and it directs the deployment of a new advanced ballistic missile defense system to defend against the threat of an Iranian intercontinental ballistic missile. In short, at home and abroad, the NDAA ensures our military has funding for national defense and overseas operations. These are the selfless individuals who we rely upon for our safety and freedom that we're talking about. And in a strongly bipartisan fashion, Congress has authorized that funding at the exact level that the President requested. In this unprecedented move, the Commander-in-Chief is using the very troops he commands as pawns in a very dangerous political game. It is wrong to add to the uncertainty our men and women in uniform face as they stand on the front lines of an increasingly uncertain world. Let us remember the President recently made the decision to keep almost 10,000 of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in Afghanistan. On the heels of such a serious decision, asking them to leave their families and lives on hold for another year or more, how could he justify not signing the bill that provides the pay and benefits for our troops? I'm thankful for my colleagues who stand with me here today to tell you why this is such a critical piece of legislation and why this veto